This is a very old book, I think from 1942, so in the middle of World War II. But the 24th century edition was remade the book because it was, first of all translated in algebraic, and second, they added a lot of diagrams, so one can follow also through the diagram. There are a lot of pictures of the players of the time, so one can see them. And of course, they check in case, you know, the analysis wasn't so correct. That's also the important part. Okay, uh, so without further ado, I would like to show you one of the games, but I would like to show you many of the games because in algebraic it's a little easier to follow the games and the analysis. I also believe that the games played by Capablanca are very, very important for us at club level because they can make us improve our chess. Okay, so let's start with game number 87. In reality, there are about 106, 107 games. No, 112. Anybody more? More than 112? Let's see. 100 and 113. I don't know why they have this kind of number. However, it would be exciting, guys, if we could read a book from cover to cover. And maybe this could be the one. So, game number 87, Monticelli versus Capablanca. Monticelli was an Italian champion. This was played in Barcelona, 1929. And the comment at the beginning says, this is one of those simple games in which the Cuban triumphs by means of clear, obvious, and imperturbable moves. As one plays over the game, it seems as if white were condemned from the very start to lose it. So Monticelli plays 1d4 and Capablanca plays knight f6. It continues with knight f3. Here it says more accurate is c4, e6. No. Obviously, we are in 2025. We know that knight f3 it's perfect. b6, g3, bishop b7, bishop g2, c5. This c5 is in fact interesting because it immediately puts under pressure the enemy center. Here he played d takes c5. I don't know. B takes c5. So this gives black an open diagonal, and generally these are the two things that one should keep in mind. c4, g6, b3, bishop g7, bishop b2, castle, castle, and d6. Here there is a diagram, and it says, despite the superficial symmetry of the position, black has a slight edge because of his more compact pawn position and the eventual possibility of weakening his opponent's game with pawn e5, e4. Of course, this is only a hope at the present. So how does white continue? White continue with knight c3. And what do you think black played? Black played knight e4. Rook c1, obviously supporting this. Knight takes c3, bishop takes c3, bishop takes c3, queen takes c3. And guys, what do you think Capablanca played at this point? Because clearly they have exchanged a lot of pieces, so probably there is not really an attack going on there from one side or the other. It's interesting because we are at move 13 and the development is still not finished, and yet one must attack in this case, and the attack is with a5. As a result of the removal of a white knight, a4 has now become a real menace. Rook fd1, knight d7, queen e3, king g7. And here it says guarding against the threat of queen h6 followed by knight g5. So this knight queen g7, it was to avoid this problem, right? So what do we see here is that Capablanca, before actually starting the attack, prefer to do prophylaxis, which means prevent a possible counter-attack by the enemy. h3, knight f6, and g4. Here it says, vainly hoping to obtain some attack on the king's side to compensate for black's threat on the other wing. So, when you have an attack on one wing, you generally counter-attack on the other, right? Okay, let's see what happens. After g4, h6, knight e1, queen c7, and knight d3. It seems that the game was commented also by Tartakover, that suggested bishop takes b7, queen takes b7, and queen f3, giving more chances to white. Obviously, probably the plan is correct, but black still has the initiative, right? So knight d3, bishop takes g2, king takes g2, and what do you think black played at this point? Black played a4. So this is a kind of an interesting situation. Let me pause for a second. Okay, sorry for the interruption, but unfortunately... okay, so we had the move a4, and now it's again our friend white, Monticelli, that needs to answer. So a4 was an achievement, a strategical achievement, because Capablanca wanted to play that and white wasn't able to stop him from doing it, okay? Now, the next step is probably to exploit somewhere else the weakness, no? Because once you create a weakness, you must pressure somewhere else. So white played knight f4. Probably the idea is knight d5, I think. Let's see. Rook fb8. So Capablanca brings everything on the queen side. And here there is f3. There is a comment here that says rook ab1 and white is only slightly worse. So this move, probably found by a computer, would eventually give a draw. but obviously they didn't have computers in 1929. So we have f3, a takes brief 3, a takes brief 3, rook takes a1, rook takes a1, and now there is a very interesting move. What would you play in this situation? Obviously, I try to make you find Capablanca's moves because in this way it's a more a learning experience, right? So Capablanca played e5. And here it says, surprising at first sight, for it seems to weaken the d pawn. But since the knight cannot return to d3, the actual effect is a strengthening of a black pawn formation. Okay, he cannot return to d3 because there will be rook takes b3. So now we understand why it was important to have the rook on b1, right? The actual effect, it says, is a strengthening of a black pawn formation and an accompanying weakening of a white pawn position. Okay, so he played knight d5, knight takes d5, c takes d5, and here at this point you need to guess what is black next move. Black next move is rook b4. Why? Because it's threatening queen b7, and so it becomes a problem, right? This is attack and this is double attack. Okay, but also probably rook d4 would attack that and white wouldn't be able to save it. So what does white do? He plays queen d3, defending this, queen b7, and here Capablanca has avoided a trap because probably you ask yourself what happens if black plays rook d4. Here it says queen a6, rook takes d5, queen a8 attacking this, rook d2, and rook a7, so it starts to take control and there's a possible counter attack. Here the variation is quite longer, and it was given by Tartakova, but it seems that you know, guys, like always the computer solves the problem, right? Because rook d4, queen a6, rook takes d5, instead of rook takes d5, he says queen b8. I don't know, that doesn't make any sense. Queen b8, because attack, because he prevent from going here and the attacks b3. Okay. And yeah, this is protected by the rook d5. Okay, so I understand the point. Very good idea. So let's also try to visualize from time to time, because visualization will definitely improve our chances. So black played queen b7 instead of rook d4. That was a possible trap, but it was refuted by subsequent analysis. And after queen b7 there is queen a6, queen takes d5, queen c8, and now there is another good move by Capablanca. So rook takes b3 is not good because he will play rook a8, and here there is a checkmate. So you don't want to enter in this kind of dangerous situation, right? So you want to avoid it, because if you are able to avoid it, you could win the game, right? So Capablanca played queen b7. And after queen d8, because obviously he doesn't want to exchange, no, and is trying to keep it up, in a sense, to have some counter attack, he plays so queen d8, but queen b8, queen d7, and rook b7. Again, it's avoiding that white goes there, okay? So that's why it's important, because you don't want to give the control of the 7th rank to your enemy. After rook b7, there is queen c6, rook takes b3, rook a6, and rook b2, and white resign, as he must remain 2 pawns down without any compensation. So here it's telling us that after this move, probably there was this, and this, and here we have 5 against 3. Capablanca was kind of known for being an amazing endgame player. In fact, that was his fourth advice to everybody, to learn the endgame instead of learning the opening. So obviously Monticelli gave up at this point. Thank you very much for watching. I really love this book because it's easy to follow in algebraic. I hope you will let me know if you want to see more and more games from the Immortal games of Capablanca, the new century, 24th century edition. Thank you very much for watching.